Hi everyone, welcome back to Cabin Crafts and Simple Living, and I'm standing here behind the cage bar, and today we're going to talk about redware. And I have some samples of redware in front of me here. I've got a canister set from SJ Pottery, and I've got I just got in a new shipment of their bowls and a shipment of their little redware mugs, and refilled the bird bottles. And I'm going to talk about each one of these different things. Redware pottery was very popular in early America. It's been around for actually hundreds and hundreds of years, well, thousands of years probably. Every civilization has their own pottery, and in fact, archaeologists will date a site based on the kind of pottery that they find. So I think it's very interesting and beautiful, and I've always loved redware because I love early American history. And you all might not have known, but in colonial America, when we were colonies and part of the British Empire, it was actually illegal to make your own pottery. And so what the British Empire wanted us to do was export our raw materials to Great Britain, and then their potters would make pottery because they belonged to guilds, which was kind of like unions, and it was very hard to get into the guilds. And so we had to ship the raw materials back to Great Britain. It was made by their guild potters and then shipped back to the colonies, to the stores for us to buy. Well, independent thinkers that we are, America, the North American continent, has its own red clay everywhere. It was very prevalent, and on the eastern seaboard, lots of red clay. There's red clay here in Missouri where I am. It's practically everywhere, or some sort of clay where you can make your own pottery. The Native Americans were doing it for centuries and centuries, so we have plenty of clay. So I think the earliest recorded potter in America was a gentleman in the Massachusetts Bay Colony in the 17th century. So what he was doing was illegal. But since they were 3,000 miles away, they couldn't really regulate everything that we were doing. And so we actually had potters here in colonial America. A lot of them came from Germany. A lot of our potters came from Germany and Eastern Europe, and you did these beautiful designs on pottery, and we're going to talk about some of these designs. And so this canister set that was made by SJ Pottery down in Arkansas, Sue and Joe, down in Arkansas. I don't know if you can see this, but this is scratched on the surface. That design is scratched into the clay while it's still not been kiln dried, while it's still kind of wet, and then they glaze it. And so it's literally scratched into the surface, and that is a German word called sgraffito. And so what it meant is to scratch. And so that is scratched onto the surface. Another way to decorate is slip trail, and they will have a little cup with slip in it, or what is a glaze in different colors, and as they are glazing the bowl, they will do these what's called slip trail decorations all around the side of the bowl and like around this beautiful mug here, and that goes all the way around, and that's done with a little slip cup. And it has it's got a slip cup, has a little hole at the bottom, at one end, almost looks like a funnel. It has a hole in one end. You put your raw slip or glaze in there, and as you're decorating it, it comes out like and you can see they were probably doing this on the wheel to get that circular round so good, so perfect. Same thing with the bands on this mug. They would have had it on the wheel, and they're decorating it with that slip cup. That's called slip trail pottery. This is also from SJ Pottery, and I had sold out of these, and I've got them back. This is an 18th century bird bottle, and when this is in the store, I've got them displayed like this, and people think it's some sort of jug or pitcher, but then they see this little hole in here and the hole in the back, and they're like, what is that? Well, the hole in the back is to hang it on something, like, say, I have it on my front porch. You could it hangs like horizontally on something. Then this little handle goes through, and there's that little hole, and you put a twig through there, and that's a perch for your little bird. And Carolina wrens make these into their nest. They nest inside this bottle. I have one on the front porch of my shop. There's a little Carolina wren that makes a nest in there every year. She even cleans out her own nest. I can see when she does it because she just rakes all of the little twigs and nest material out onto the porch floor. And then she'll come back and make a new one every year. And they make inside this hole, there's a teeny tiny little, barely you can see in there. She just makes enough of a hole for her to get herself into, because there are invasive species of birds that are called cowbirds that will go in and into a nest, lay an egg, and that egg is much bigger than the little songbird's eggs. And when that baby is born, it's very demanding, and the songbird mother will constantly devote her attention to feeding that parasite egg, basically, and her little chicks will starve to death. So she builds a teeny tiny little hole so that a cowbird cannot get into that. Also, Carolina wrens love to eat mosquitoes. And so if you get to go to Colonial Williamsburg, you will see these bird bottles attached to all of the fronts of the buildings. They're going to be hanging like this for their little wrens to make a nest in, because they eat bad bugs. So that's what this is. This is a bird bottle. Now on the back side here is Redware pottery that I got when I went to the Moravians this past Christmas in Old Salem, North Carolina. And you'll notice the difference. This is a crock, a Redware crock, and compared to this, it is not glazed on the outside. It's glazed on the inside. Now, Redware is very porous, so you've got to glaze it at least on the inside. And so I had said that I would like to make crock bread in this crock, and everybody's like, what's crock bread? I will try to show you sometime soon what crock bread is. But like I've said, I'm helping homeschool 4 of my grandchildren, and it's taken a lot of my time. So maybe I'll do it one day when they're there. But anyway, all you needed was the inside glazed. And back in the 18th, early 19th century, this would have been lead glaze. This is not lead glaze today. This is all very food safe. But in the early 18th century up into the early 19th century, well, anything before that, it was lead-based glaze, and people ate off of it. But you know, I'm not so sure what I think about all of this lead stuff, because every one of our founding fathers ate and drank off of lead every day. And I think it takes probably large amounts before it actually affects you physically and mentally. You know, the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland, hatters went mad because of all the lead they were handling in the felt making process to make hats. But they were handling a lot of it. And I'm like, every early American ate and out of Redware pottery, maybe drank out of Redware pottery, and also off of pewter, and it had lead in it. So I'm not sure what the parts per million are before you start to see the effects, but I really don't think that it was as unsafe as what everybody's like, oh, lead, you know, but not that it's good, but I don't think it was that terribly, it had a big impact on their health, because after all, that's the generation of brilliant men who founded our country, like Thomas Jefferson and James Madison and that. They all drank out of lead, so I'm just saying. Here's another thing that's a utilitarian piece. This is a bowl, glazed on the inside, not on the outside. So these things are oven safe. I would not put them in the dishwasher, but very cute bowl. This one was Westmore pottery. This was made in Seagrove, North Carolina, and Seagrove had over 70 different potters in this one little town. Not all of it was early American colonial type pottery like I love. It was a lot of modern stuff, but anyway, this is Westmore pottery, and so is this beautiful crock. The last piece I want to talk about is also from Westmore pottery, not glazed on the outside, but it's got this beautiful green glaze on the inside. And the lady that told me about this, or that made it, said this is a 17th century piece of pottery. Would be English pottery. And so this, we're talking where all of this is more like 1700s. This was 1600s. This is more Pilgrim period. And when I looked at this, it's got a little crimped edge. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got a cute little crimped edge. And I looked at it and I'm like, that looks like a perfect pot pie, like you would make a pot pie in. So that is Westmore pottery again, and this is a 17th century piece. Now, all of this pottery is on my website, www.scoshop, and that's SHOPPE.com. The only thing that is not on the website that is on my counter here is the canister set. I only have one, and I'm not going to ship these babies. It scares me to death. When Sue and Joe shipped me their Redware, you would not believe how wrapped up and packaged it is. It's like wrapped in bubble wrap, and then it's surrounded with cardboard taped around it. And I'm just not going to do that for one set of canisters. And it would cost me way more than the $10 flat shipping fee I have on the website. So that's the only thing that's not on my website. But this is a short little lesson in Redware pottery. I hope you enjoyed it and enjoyed being in the cage bar. This is my colonial cage bar. If you didn't know about that, I have a video about that, about the colonial cage bar. So I'm in the cage. So thank you all for watching. Have a great, great rest of your day, and God bless. Oh, speaking of God bless, if you didn't know, I actually have another channel called Simply Devoted. If you like devotionals, you can go and watch my devotionals on that channel. I keep them separate from the crafts. I did have it all together at one time, but there were folks that only wanted the crafts, and there was folks that only wanted the devotionals, so I split the channels. And so I have another channel for devotionals called Simply Devoted. So if you want to check those out, I'd love it for you to go check it out. So thank you very much for watching, and God bless. Bye-bye.